Good afternoon, students. Continuing with the part 2 of the lecture on cancer and programmed cell death, we'll study about apoptosis and few other things today. So apoptosis is the Greek word for falling leaves. जैसे पत्ते गिरते हैं trees से. So it's a Greek word for falling leaves, a natural autumn event, and cellular apoptosis is the natural biochemical process of cell death. In an adult human, it is estimated that 3 billion cells are born each minute, and therefore 3 billion cells per minute must undergo apoptotic death to maintain homeostasis. So we can say that in the body, superfluous or unwanted cells are destroyed by a pathway called apoptosis or programmed cell death. Apoptosis is required to restructure tissues and organs during embryogenesis and development. Apoptosis also eliminates immunoresponsive T cells and B cells at the end of their response to infection, and this is how it regulates wound healing. Apoptosis protects organisms from the negative effects of mutations by destroying cells with irreparably damaged DNA before they could proliferate. And just as an excess of a growth signal can produce an excess of unwanted cells, the failure of apoptosis to remove excess or damaged cells can actually contribute to the development of cancer. Now, apoptosis is a genetically regulated program that, when activated, causes cell death. And apoptosis can be divided into 3 general phases. First, an initiation phase. Second, it may be given in some books and may be omitted in others. Second is a signal integration phase. And third is an execution phase. तो मोटा मोटा अगर हम बात करें तो एक इनिशिएशन फेज होता है और दूसरा एग्जीक्यूशन फेज होता है जहां पे एक्चुअली एपोप्टोसिस एग्जीक्यूट हो जाता है. Now let's see what stimulus can initiate programmed cell death. Apoptosis can be initiated by external signals that work through death receptors such as tumor necrosis factor or deprivation of growth hormones. It can also be initiated by intracellular events that affect mitochondrial integrity, for example oxygen deprivation, radiation, and also it can be initiated by irreparably damaged DNA. In the signal integration phase, these pro-apoptotic signals, pro means जो उसको stimulate करेंगे, these pro-apoptotic signals are balanced against anti-apoptotic cell survival signals by several pathways, including members of the BCL2 family of proteins. Now please look it up in your textbook what BCL2 stands for. The execution phase is carried out by proteolytic enzymes called caspases. The figure here shows you what I just talked about, that is the major components in apoptosis, and minus the release of cytochrome C from mitochondria on activation of death receptors. This can lead to initiation of apoptosis. Okay, so we'll talk about initial events of apoptosis now. The main proteins involved in apoptosis are proteolytic enzymes, as I told, called caspases, which normally exist as inactive procaspases. जैसे हमने पढ़ा था ना इंटेस्टाइन्स में कैसे एंजाइम्स एग्जिस्ट करते हैं जाइमोजन की तरह इनएक्टिव फॉर्म में, तो यहाँ पे वो प्रोकैस्पेजेस फॉर्म में एग्जिस्ट करते हैं विच आर कन्वर्टेड इनटू देयर एक्टिव फॉर्म, दैट इज caspases. These caspases are cysteine proteases that split peptide bonds on the C-terminal end of the aspartate residues. And about 15 human caspases are known, although not all participate in apoptosis. When those involved in apoptosis are activated, mainly 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they participate in a cascade of events. जैसे coagulation cascade आपने पढ़ी होगी, बिल्कुल वैसे ही. And they work in a cascade and they kill cells by digesting various proteins and other molecules. The upstream caspases, that is 2, 8 and 10. 8 you can see here in the figure. They are at the beginning of the cascade and they are often called initiators. And those downstream at the end of the pathway, that is 3, 6, 7, as you can see in the figure also, they are called effectors or executioners. Now let's see what stimulus triggers apoptosis and how. So the regulatory mechanisms that trigger apoptosis involve some of the same proteins that regulate the cell cycle. The signal for suicide often comes from outside through a surface receptor. TNF produced by cells of the immune system interacts with cells through specific TNF receptors, tumor necrosis factor receptors. Now these receptors have TNF binding sites on the outer surface of the plasma membrane and a death domain. Death domain, which is about 80 amino acid residues, and this death domain actually carries the self-destruct signal through the membrane to cytosolic proteins such as TRADD, TRADD, all in caps, TNF receptor associated death domain. Now when an initiator caspase, caspase 8 here in the figure, is activated by an apoptotic signal carried through TRADD, it further self-activates by clearing its own proenzyme form. Mitochondria are one target of active caspase 8. The protease causes the release of certain proteins contained between the inner and outer mitochondrial membranes, that is cytochrome C and several other effector caspases. Now this cytochrome C, this binds to proenzyme form of the effector enzyme caspase 9 and stimulates its proteolytic activation. The activated caspase 9 in turn catalyzes wholesale destruction of cellular proteins, which is a major cause of apoptotic cell death. Now the figure given here is the basic scheme of apoptosis. This I have taken from Harper 29th edition. So the two major pathways that activate the caspase cascade and promote cell death are the death receptor pathway, or we call it as extrinsic pathway, and the mitochondrial pathway, that is the intrinsic pathway. And the overall process includes proteins that act as receptors and adapters, procaspases and caspases, and pro and anti-apoptotic factors. Now let's see what are the major molecular events in each of the pathway. In the extrinsic pathway, death signals include TNF alpha, as I told earlier, and FAS antigen, which is present on the surface of lymphocytes and some other cells. These signals or ligands interact with specific death receptors. The activated receptor then interacts with an adapter protein, FAD, or we call it as FAS associated death domain. FAD is one of the adapter proteins. So the activated receptor interacts with an adapter protein and then forms a complex with procaspase 8. What follows this is, through a series of further steps, active caspase 3 is formed, which is a major executioner of cell damage. Caspase 3 digests important structural proteins such as laminin, which is associated with nuclear condensation, various cytoskeletal proteins and enzymes involved in DNA repair, and this is how caspase 3 affects cell death. Now let us see how extrinsic pathway is regulated. First, there is inhibitory effect. As you can see in the figure, there is inhibitory effect of flip on the conversion of procaspase 8 to caspase 8. Now what is flip? To understand flip, let me tell you another term. There is something called ICE, that is interleukin 1 beta convertase, and FLICE, FLICE, it is FADD like ICE. And what is flip? Flip is FLICE inhibitory protein. I know this is somewhat confusing, but if you read the text and understand it, try to understand it, you'll get it. So there is inhibitory effect of flip on the conversion of procaspase 8 to caspase 8, and second inhibitory effect is of IAP on procaspase 3. IAPs are nothing but inhibitor of apoptosis proteins. It's a family of proteins which inhibit apoptosis. Okay, now coming to the intrinsic or mitochondrial pathway, BAC and BAX, BAK and BAX. BAC and BAX oligomerize to permeabilize the outer mitochondrial membrane to allow cytochrome C to pass into the cytoplasm, where it forms an apoptosome with multiple molecules of APAF1 and procaspase 9. I'll repeat. BAC and BAX वो क्या करते हैं, ओलिगोमराइज करते हैं ताकि वो आउटर माइटोकॉन्ड्रियल मेम्ब्रेन को परमेबलाइज कर सके. उससे क्या होता है, साइटोक्रोम सी इट पासेस आउट फ्रॉम माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया टू साइटोप्लाज्म, जहां पे वो एक स्ट्रक्चर बनाता है व्हाट वी कॉल एज एपोप्टोजोम, जिसमें मल्टीपल मॉलिक्यूल्स होते हैं APAF1 के और प्रोकास्पेज 9 भी होता है. Now this activated caspase 9 then activates the caspase cascade. And about activators of mitochondrial pathway, they include DNA damage, growth factor withdrawal, TNF-alpha, and certain cell cycle abnormalities. There are few abbreviations in this figure, as you can see, so I'm not telling you the abbreviations here. You can just look up for them in any standard textbook. Okay. Now this figure here shows you how intrinsic pathway of apoptosis is actually regulated. Oligomerization of BAC and or BACs in the outer mitochondrial membrane permeabilizes the membrane for transfer of cytochrome C from mitochondria to cytoplasm, as we have already seen. Now BCL2 and BCL-XL. I'll repeat, BCL2 and BCL-XL, as you can see in the figure, they inhibit membrane permeabilization by binding with BACs and BAC to prevent BACs and BAC self-association. So क्या हुआ, BCL2 और BCL-XL क्या हो गए, anti-apoptotic, right? Now facilitator proteins such as BAD and BIM, BAD and BAD and BID, they promote apoptosis by either promoting the dissociation of BAC and BACs from BCL2 and BCL-XL or promoting an active conformation of the BACs and BAC oligomers. So BID and BAD are pro-apoptotic. How? because they promote dissociation of BAC and BACs from BCL2 and BCL-XL, or they may promote an active conformation of BACs and BAC oligomers. Okay, so as you can see, BACs is pro-apoptotic. It causes loss of mitochondrial membrane potential, helping initiate the mitochondrial apoptotic pathway, and activation of p53 upregulates transcription of BACs. On the other hand, BCL2 inhibits this loss of membrane potential and is therefore anti-apoptotic. Plus, in regulation, there are inhibitor of apoptosis proteins, IAPs, which inhibit conversion of procaspase 9 to caspase 9. So this was about regulation of apoptosis by cytochrome C and certain other proteins. Now we move further, and about apoptosis. It's a genetically complex programmed series of events. It's a cascade, and certainly it differs from necrosis. We'll see in the subsequent slide how it differs from necrosis in morphologic features and biochemical features, and at the nuclear level also. And the entire process is a cascade, as I told you, just like blood coagulation. And cells undergoing apoptosis, they show characteristic morphological and biochemical features which include chromatin aggregation, nuclear and cytoplasmic condensation, and partition of cytoplasm and nucleus into membrane-bound vesicles called apoptotic bodies, which contain ribosomes, morphologically intact mitochondria and nuclear material, and these apoptotic bodies are rapidly recognized and phagocytosed by macrophages, and due to this efficient mechanism for the removal of apoptotic cells in vivo, no inflammatory response is elicited. And as I told, there are caspases involved. Some are initiators, the upstream ones, and some are effectors or the executioners, and they are located downstream in the cascade. And there are two pathways. One is death receptor mediated, and another is mitochondrial pathway or intrinsic pathway. And in death receptor pathway, FAS and other receptors are involved, and in mitochondrial pathway, DNA damage and cellular stress, and followed by release of cytochrome C. These are the major events. And apoptosis, as you saw in the last figure only, it's a balance. It's a balance regulated between by the two agents on, it's kind of tug of war. On one side you have anti-apoptotic genes, and on the other hand you have pro-apoptotic genes. So there are inhibitors and there are activators produced from those genes which actually regulate apoptosis. And one major feature from the last lecture you must be remembering about cancer cells, that they have extremely good potential to evade apoptosis. That means they can just fool the programmed cell death pathway and can proliferate liberally, and thus how they become immortal also. Okay, now this table about differences between necrosis and apoptosis, minded it's very important, not just for this year or biochemistry, and this is going to be with you for rest of your life. And pathology में भी आपसे जब आप जाओगे general patho की classes attend करोगे, so the teachers will ask you, please tell us what pathology have you studied till date. So you'll be wondering. But then this is one thing that you must remember, differences between necrosis and apoptosis, and this is certainly going to be one important question for your professional examinations. Okay, so the two okay, so in cell size there is necrosis में आपको swollen मिलेगा cells, and on the other hand एपोप्टोसिस में द सेल साइज विल बी श्रंकन. एंड न्यूक्लियस में आपको जो चेंज मिलेगा, नेक्रोसिस में देयर विल बी पिक्नोसिस, दैट इज न्यूक्लियर कंडेंसेशन, फॉलोड बाय कैरियोहेक्सिस, दैट इज फ्रेगमेंटेशन, एंड finally dissolution of the nucleus. On the other hand, in apoptosis, it's a very programmed kind of thing. It's a very sorted kind of thing. There will be fragmentation into nucleosome size fragments. Okay. And talking about plasma membrane, in necrosis, the plasma membrane is disrupted. On the other hand, apoptosis, it's a very sane process, so there's not gonna be any disruption of the plasma membrane. It will be intact. And as plasma membrane is disrupted, so you are basically, you know, dissecting the cell in all directions, so there will be leakage of the cellular contents out of the cell, and there would be enzymatic digestion seen in necrosis. And in apoptosis, it is a more of the cellular contents will be intact in the form of apoptotic bodies, as I told earlier. And of course, there is not you know, much going on in the terms of inflammation, so there is no inflammation in apoptosis. But on the other hand, necrosis, the contents are spilled out, there are chemicals all spilled out, so there is adjacent inflammation frequently seen in necrosis. Okay. Now physiologic और pathologic role, apoptosis आपको mostly often physiologic उसमें मिलता है, embryogenesis में, fetal development में, तो वहाँ पे आपको unwanted cells को differentiate कराना है, तो आपको कुछ cells को वहाँ पे kill करना पड़ेगा, तो that is where apoptosis operates. But in necrosis, for example, road traffic accident हुआ and there is, you know, crush injury to the tissue, so there is massive necrosis of the cells on that site in that tissue. Okay, now very important feature here which you are asked, and this is demonstrable also. When you take the cellular DNA, you extract the cellular DNA of the cell from a necrotic cell, the kind of pattern that you see on agarose gel electrophoresis, the DNA is like brutally divided into various fractions. So when you run it on a gel, you get a smear. It's like a smear, जैसे आपने smear बनाया होगा फिजियोलॉजी में, ब्लड स्मेयर, तो बिल्कुल एक वैसी अपीयरेंस आती है, क्योंकि बहुत सारे साइजेस में आपका न्यूक्लियर मटेरियल टूटता है. बट ऑन द अदर हैंड, एपोप्टोसिस, एज आई टोल्ड यू, इट्स अ डिसिप्लिन काइंड ऑफ प्रोसीजर. सो नॉन रैंडम कुछ लेंथ पे, लेट्स से 200 बेस पेयर लेंथ पे आपके डीएनए के फ्रैगमेंट्स कटते हैं, तो वो कैसा पैटर्न दिखाएंगे, जैसे एक सीढ़ी होती है, लैडर टाइप पैटर्न दिखेगा आपको. सो दैट इज अ काइंड ऑफ वेरी डिसिप्लिन काइंड ऑफ, यू नो, अपीयरेंस. So this was about differences between necrosis and apoptosis. Now coming to the another important question that you are asked is P53. Why P53 is called as guardian of the genome? So the two best understood cell cycle regulators that are also tumor suppressors are retinoblastoma, RB, and P53 genes. I'm not going to talk about RB because I have a time constraint here. You can read it on your own, and if any questions you can ask. We are going to study P53 in detail, as one question is definitely asked on P53 almost every year. So cells that have damaged DNA are stopped from completing cell division by P53 dependent mechanisms. P53 can act to increase levels of the cyclin dependent kinase inhibitor P21 और CKI P21 उसका लेवल बढ़ा देता है, to inhibit CDK promoted progression through the cell cycle at the G1S phase transition or the G2M phase transition. So increasing P21 stops cell division, giving the cell time to repair DNA. And if the DNA damage is irreparable in a reasonable time span, then p53 initiates cellular apoptosis. The elimination of cells with DNA damage prevents the development of tumor cells, and the loss of p53 regulation of cellular apoptosis is common in cancers. Now, p53 concentration is not determined by the rate of its gene transcription, but by the rate of p53 protein degradation. The degradation of p53 is due to MDM2 catalyzed polyubiquitination by proteasomes, and MDM2 is an E3 ubiquitin ligase. I'll repeat, p53 की concentration उसकी gene transcription से नहीं decide होती, वो हमेशा एक certain level पे transcribe होता है this protein, but जो उसका rate of degradation है protein का p53 का, वो decide करता है कि कितनी activity वो दिखाएगा. और जो डिग्रेडेशन है वो होती है MDM2 कैटलाइज्ड polyubiquitination by proteasomes, और MDM2 क्या है, वो खुद एक E3 ubiquitin ligase है. Now what p53 actually does, we have seen before also, besides producing CDK2 inhibitor p21, it increases the transcription rates of BAX and several of the facilitator pro-apoptotic proteins such as PUMA, and also activates cytoplasmic bags, causing the cytoplasmic form to associate in the mitochondrial membrane. Both these mechanisms increase the concentration of pro-apoptotic BH proteins in the mitochondrial membrane, resulting in cellular apoptosis. And if the DNA repair was not successful, p53 activates several genes involved in apoptosis, including BAX and insulin-like growth factor binding protein. And this IGF-BP3, this protein product binds to the receptor for IGF receptor, which presumably induces apoptosis by blocking the anti-apoptotic signals by growth factors, and the cell enters a growth factor deprivation mode. Okay, so this is just a pictorial representation of what I told you in the last 3 slides. So circle 1 in the figure here shows mechanisms that recognize DNA damage, which stop p53 degradation and modify the p53 protein. In circle 2, this shows p53 stimulates transcription of p21 and GADD45. And GADD is what? It is growth arrest and DNA damage. It's an enzyme, right? So p53 stimulates transcription of p21, circle 2, and also it increases transcription of GADD45 protein, producing GADD protein. Circle 4 here shows you p21 blocking the cyclin CDK dependent phosphorylation of RB, which continues to inhibit the E2F family of transcription factors, thereby blocking cell progression through the cell cycle. And what is the role of GADD45? It allows the DNA damage to be repaired, and if the damage is not repaired, apoptotic genes are activated. Okay, now as I told you previously, p53 concentration is not determined by the rate of its gene transcription but by its rate of degradation. p53 levels are also regulated by transcription factors MYC and E2F in the S phase of the cell cycle. So there was a doubt about this also, MYC and tumor suppressor genes p53, so probably now that would be clear. So MYC and E2F in the S phase of the cell cycle, MYC and E2F are transcription factors, so they also regulate p53 levels. So while these transcription factors promote the expression of proteins critical for the S phase in cell division, they also initiate cell death when conditions are unfavorable for cell division. So under normal conditions, p53 concentrations are kept low by MDM2, which promotes ubiquitination of p53 and its subsequent degradation. Now, phosphorylation and acetylation of appropriate residues by kinase and histone acetyltransferase enzymes, HAT enzymes, they prevent degradation of p53 and also increases its transcriptional activity. I'll repeat. Phosphorylation and acetylation of appropriate residues by kinases and HAT enzymes, they prevent degradation of p53 and also increase its transcriptional activity. Now, certain proto-oncogenes transcription factor proteins such as E2F and MYC here act as tumor suppressor proteins. Under favorable conditions, E2F and MYC promote the expression of genes required in cell division, but under abnormal conditions, they increase ARF expression. As you can see in the figure, there is ARF. So, in under favorable conditions, E2F and MYC promote expression of genes required in cell division, but जब conditions abnormal होती हैं, तो वो ARF का expression बढ़ा देते हैं. तो ARF अब क्या करता है? वो क्या करता है? MDM2 को bind करता है to prevent its interaction with p53 and thereby increases p53 concentration. So as you can figure out, the ARF induced mechanism, it may be a cellular safety valve to stop a cell from dividing when certain negative signals arise after the cell has initiated the cell division process. जैसे हमारे पास safety valves लगे होते हैं, ये ARF जो है, it is almost like a safety valve कि भाई अगर cell साइकिल में आगे डिवीजन में चला भी गया है तो भी उसको पकड़ के ये रोक सकता है. कैसे? क्योंकि ये MDM2 को इनहिबिट कर देगा और MDM2 का इंटरेक्शन p53 से कम हो जाएगा तो p53 की कॉन्सेंट्रेशन बढ़ जाएगी. ओके. Now after discussing one major feature of cancer cells, that is evasion of apoptosis, there are another mechanisms which are involved in cancer, including epigenetic mechanisms. And progression toward cancer can involve epigenetic alterations that affect processes including cell cycle progression, repair of DNA damage and apoptosis. And examples include methylation of specific cytosine bases in genes and post-translational modifications of histones such as acetylation, methylation, phosphorylation and ubiquitination, as you can see in the figure. Now let's see how these epigenetic changes have a role in cancer. Now see the figure along. And methylation of cytosine to form 5' methyl cytosine. So this cytosine is usually located next to a guanine residue forming a CpG island, and this methylation of cytosine is catalyzed by methyltransferases and is associated with silencing of activities of certain genes. So if it suppresses a tumor suppressor gene, there is huge potential of the cell to go cancerous. Now specific residues in specific histones are modified by various enzymes, changing the conformations and activities of modified histones. For example, acetylation of N-terminal lysines in certain histones is associated with opening up of chromatin and increased transcription of certain genes. Okay. So that was briefly about epigenetic mechanisms. We come to metastasis. This figure here shows the scheme of the most serious aspect of cancer, which is responsible for roughly 85% of the mortality associated with cancer, that is metastasis or spread of cancer. So the major barrier to metastasis is the basement membrane surrounding the primary tumor. Tumor cell invasion through the basement membrane, it can be divided into steps. The first step जो होता है वो होता है tumor cell laminin receptors. They bind to laminin protein in the basement membrane. Now transmission by the activated laminin receptors of intracellular signals leads to secretion of proteinases. For example, matrix metalloproteinases, MMPs, which are zinc dependent enzymes. So जब ये एक्टिवेटेड लेमिनिन रिसेप्टर्स इंटरैक्ट करते हैं इंट्रासेलुलर सिग्नल्स के साथ तो प्रोटीनेजेस सिक्रीट होते हैं इनटू द एक्स्ट्रासेलुलर मैट्रिक्स. Now this tumor cell moves through the holes in the basement membrane created by the proteinase activity. So this is how cells can gain access to the circulation, be it blood capillaries or lymphatics, a process called intravasation. Now once in the circulation, they tend to arrest in the nearest small capillary bed. And in the capillary bed, once they have reached there, they extravasate and migrate through the neighboring ECM, extracellular matrix, before finding a suitable site to settle. Now there are some biochemical changes seen which aid cells in metastasis. Namely, there is abnormal complement of proteins on their cell surfaces so that there is decreased cell adhesion which allows easy detachment of cells from parent cancer, and there is decrease in amounts of cell adhesion molecules, CAMs, or for example E-cadherin. Last but not the least, there is release of various proteinases, especially matrix metalloproteinases. Okay. Now, in this slide, I have just, summarized few important points about metastasis. So, these are, so there is epithelial to mesenchymal cell transition. Now, let's see what it is. Basically, EMT allows epithelial to mesenchymal cell transition allows increased movement of cancer cells. So EMT is basically a change of cell morphology, cell polarity and function from epithelial to mesenchymal type, and this transition is induced by growth factors. And to differentiate the mesenchymal type cell which it becomes, it has more actin filaments, so more of movement and thereby easier metastasis. Okay, and metastasis is relatively inefficient, and some of the surveillance cells amongst the cancerous cells, they secrete chemokines which can lead to immune response. So that is how metastatic cells, they evade immune system and they survive. And as I told you, there is change in cell surface molecules, cell adhesion molecules, there is increased proteinase activity, and of course they have a preferential movement to specific organs. For example, breast carcinoma अगर मेटास्टेसाइज करता है तो आप सबसे पहले मेट्स के लिए आप लिवर में आप चेक करते हो और बैकबोन में आप चेक करते हो. Right, so there are specific sites of preference, and this finishes this short lecture, and you can go through the summary. I'll give you some time to read about it. Okay. Now these are few important questions. Please go through them, and if you find any difficulty in after the lectures and reading the text, if you find that you may not be able to write answers to any of these, you are more than welcome to come back with your doubts, and maybe you can just ask me about how to write an answer, you know what fetches you the maximum marks, because at times what we encounter, the student knows the information but it's just not presented in the way that it will attract the attention of the examiner and get you good marks. So try one or two writing them down, and you can just ask me. These were the references that I used to refer to make the lectures. Thank you.